everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations with another design team project for Bramble Fox. Today I'm going to be creating a layout with some upcoming Foxbox perspectives and showing you how to use some summer paper snips with the new epoxy flare stickers in the Bramble Fox shop. I'm also going to be mixing and matching some stencils on this layout and showing you a simple page that you can recreate using items you have in your collection. Getting photos of my boys is not an easy thing to do, and getting one with them together is rare. This is a photo of two of my boys fishing together, so I'm going to be creating a single photo layout using the genuine title that will be arriving in the September Foxbox. I'm also going to be adding some flair to this layout. These are new products in the Bramble Fox shop, and they're designed to go over the circular elements on the paper snips. I will show you how to create a few of these as I assemble the layout. On this page, I'm going to be mixing and matching some of my stencils, and I can't wait to show you how to do that. This rare photo of my boys is the only one I captured that day. So this layout is going to have one photo. I had a viewer ask me why I create single photo layouts now when in the past my layouts had multiple photos. When you have adult children, getting a photo of them is rare, and sometimes that means you only get one good photo. So in this stage of my life, most of my pages are only going to have one photo. I have laid out the elements on a burlap background so that I can add some stenciling to the page. I'm going to be using stencils 2 and 3 on this background. These two stencils are perfect for those of you who love the look of mixed media but want to be able to control the look of the design. I'm going to start with the stencil that looks like a coffee ring, and I'm going to add a little soft gray color to the circle using a blending tool. Then I'm going to come in with the next stencil and add what looks like paint drips. I started to fill this in and then realized that I should probably mask off the area so that I didn't get any ink past that ring shape. I just did that with some repositionable tape. This stencil also has some splatter shapes, which are perfect for people like me who worry about messing up their splatters. I'm going to add this to the edge of the ring shape to make it look like it's part of the image. Once the corner element was complete, I wanted to add a few more circles and drips behind where the photo was going to sit. These won't be as prominent because it is a gray ink on gray paper, but I'll be adding some stitching here to help this stand out, and those little rings are going to help frame the photo. Unlike most people, I do fear the splatter process, and I always worry about making a mess of my page, but I did want a few organic splatters on this layout. So I've placed a little bit of ink onto my glass board, and I'm going to add a small amount of water to it. Then I'll use a small paintbrush and add some splatters over those stenciled areas. This is going to give it more of that mixed media look, and it'll look less like a stencil. Now I'm going to bring in another one of my favorite stencils, which is stencil number 37, and I'm going to add stitched loops leading away from the photo. I'm going to be using Crypt texture paste for this because I want a little dimension and I just love that stone color. This is a Halloween product, but the color of this fits perfectly with the page. These little loops on the stencil can be mixed and matched with each other to create a short trail or a longer one. There are also little icons on here like airplanes, people, and cars, and a tent that you can add to the trail. I recently used this stencil to create a butterfly trail, and I loved how it looked. The hardest part was lining up this stencil without smushing the texture paste that I had already added, but it actually worked out just fine. This paste dries pretty quickly, and any mistakes I would have made would have just looked like it was part of a messy background. All right, I'm going to set this aside to dry and show you how to make a few of the flare elements. In the Bramble Fox shop, there are these little epoxy stickers, and they fit perfectly over the circle shapes on the paper snips. You can use a 1-inch punch or a die to cut these out. I don't have a paper punch, so I'm going to show you how to cut these out with a die. It can be difficult to line these dies up perfectly on the paper snip page. So I like to cut a template from a scrap piece of cardstock. Then I lay the template over the paper snip and attach it in place with some repositionable tape. I can drop the die right into the template and then I run it through my die cutting machine. This gives me the perfect cut every time. When you're peeling the epoxy stickers off the sheet, try not to touch the adhesive side of the sticker or you'll end up with fingerprints on your flare. I like to use a pair of tweezers because my big fingers always get in the way. This epoxy sticker fits right over the top, and now you have a lovely flare element for your page. Now, you don't only have to use these on the round paper snips. On this sheet, I want to use the phrase that says, "Enjoy the little things." So I'm only going to cut out this portion of the paper snip and use it with the epoxy sticker. Again, I just used that cardstock template, cut this out with my die, and then I just added a little epoxy sticker over the top. You can also make your own flare with these epoxy stickers using items in your collection. This little fishing lure fits the theme of my page, so I'm going to do a DIY flare with the epoxy sticker, and now it matches the rest of the elements. I'm going to create a few more of these for my page using elements that I have, and then I'll show you how the rest of the layout comes together. Behind the photo, I did add a perspective frame that came in a previous Foxbox. And whenever you're layering items over any type of perspective, you are going to use quite a bit of foam tape. So I did have to do that here with that pattern paper and the photo. As you can see, I did add a little bit of stitching to this page, and now I'm going to add those little flare pieces mixed in with a few stickers that I have in my collection. The flare stickers are going to go along the edge of this pattern paper, and they're going to lead your eye down to the photo. 3 of the flare pieces were created using paper snips, and 2 were created using circle stickers in my collection. These epoxy stickers allowed me to make elements that match the theme of my page, and they look just like the rest of the flare I added. At the top right corner, I brought in some more blue patterns with a paper strip, and I also added a fishing fly sticker. This creates a nice visual triangle with the pattern paper behind the photo, and it covers up some of the mistakes I made with my stenciling. The title was placed to the right of the photo. I have already attached that September Foxbox element to my page, and I'll be adding a paper snip phrase to it later on. Now, as I add fishing elements to the page, I want to bring in colors from the flare and from the title. I don't want to overwhelm this page because I want to keep the focus on the photo, not on the elements I'm adding. I'm going to try to balance out the number of circles on the page. I have some that I created with ink, and some that I created with stitching, and some that I created with flare. I'm going to bring in a few metal brads. Not only are these going to bring some contrast to the page, they're also a smaller circle that'll balance out some of the other items. Below the photo, I wanted to be able to add the date, so I trimmed down a paper snip and added it to the page. This element matches some of the lighter blue colors in the flare and gives me a spot to write. I'm going to finish adding a few more items off camera, and then I'll share the finished layout. Behind the flare pieces, I smeared a little bit more of that crypt texture paste, and I also brought in the word adventure above the photo. This helped to fill in some of the blank space and brought some more color to the page. I also added a little bit of thread on that fishing fly and a few little gray sequins on the page. This layout is very simple, and it's one that you can recreate using flare elements from the Bramble Fox shop. You can easily change out the design to fit the photos you are using. I love having that mix of stencils on the page and how all of this came together with bits of texture and stitching. Thank you for joining me for another scrapbook project. If you would like to see more of my projects, you can visit my channel or follow Miss Carrie's Creations online. If you have any questions about this project or the supplies I used, feel free to comment below. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.